The University of Sioux Falls Theater Department performs Time Stands Still.
The USF Choir prepares for their European tour.
A USF student talks with a professor about the Event Center.
All this and more coming up next on College Week.
From the Jeske Fine Arts Center on the campus of the University of Sioux Falls, this is College Week. With Alex Bainey, Kayla Burnside, and sports with Brett Geese.
Good morning, I'm Kayla Burnside.
And I'm Alex Bainey.
So Alex, did you hear about the new Event Center?
I did, and I'm actually really excited about it. Even though it's going to cost us a lot of money, I'm excited. It'll bring a lot of things here. So,
Yep,
how about you?
I agree. It's going to bring a lot of entertainment to Sioux Falls, and it'll be good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
After weeks of preparation, the University of Sioux Falls completed their sculpture for the Can Art Make a Difference food drive. The graphic design class got into the holiday spirit and created a Santa Claus sculpture that has been on display since November 12th. Thousands of pounds of food were raised by all of the groups involved, helping feed South Dakota one can at a time.
Last weekend, 6 students from USF participated in the 2011 Intercollegiate Mediation Tournament held at Drake Law School in Des Moines, Iowa. The 6 students, Chase Koskovich, Haley DeBoer, Danica Nash, Kayla Coffey, Chris Sadler, and Laura Anderson donated their time and effort to practice and participate in the tournament. The team of Haley DeBoer, Danica Nash, and Chris Sadler placed 6 out of 24 teams. Individually, Danica Nash earned All-American status as an advocate and mediator. Haley DeBoer earned All-American status as an advocate, and Kayla Coffey earned All-American status as a mediator.
At the University of Sioux Falls, students have plenty to be thankful for, and with the Thanksgiving season coming up, students will have plenty of opportunities to give back to those less fortunate than themselves. The festivities kick off with the Turkey Trot today at Cherry Park beginning at 9 a.m. The proceeds from this 5K run will go to the Kids Against Hunger. For more information or to sign up for the run, students can contact Laura Anderson by emailing her at laura.anderson@usiouxfalls.edu. For those who cannot make it to the Turkey Trot, there is another opportunity to help the cause later that evening. Starting at 10 p.m. in Java City, there will be a black light dance. The cover charge for the evening is $3, with all proceeds going to Kids Against Hunger.
Students will get to celebrate Thanksgiving with each other with a traditional Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday in the McDonald Center. Conference room at 7 p.m. Students and faculty are all welcome to take part in the meal put together by USF professors and students. The celebration continues on Monday with a friendly pie eating competition at noon in the cafeteria and ends with a family board game night in Sullivan later that evening at 9 p.m.
This past weekend, the USF Theater Department opened their second performance of the year. With more on the story, here is Hillary McQuaid.
Lights, camera, action. The USF Theater Department is at it again, and this November 15th through 20th, they will be featuring the drama Time Stands Still, which asks the question of moral duty. Director Kim Bartling sat down with us to further explain the upcoming play.
It's a small play. It's very intimate because the topic is intimate. Of course, at the University of Sioux Falls in the theater program, we are committed to theater of social change. And so this play is about one of those issues. And so the major dramatic question is, what does more good? Taking the photo for the world to see the atrocities, or caring for the one individual that you may be taking the picture of?
This play differs from others shown this year in that the audience gets to sit on stage with the actors while they perform. Brandon Hansen, who plays James, tells us more about this.
The closer audience makes it more intimate, and it just adds to like a dramatic piece, which is what this is. And it's like the audience is actually a part of the play, they're like a part of the set.
Kim Bartling agrees the set makes the audience feel more a part of the play.
Again, I think it just draws us in more. It makes you feel like you are accountable to the production.
Again, showtimes are November 15th through 19th at 7:30 p.m. and November 20th at 2 p.m. For College Week, I'm Hillary McQuaid.
So Alex, did you see the show Time Stands Still?
I did see it, and I thought they did a really great job, and whoever hasn't seen it yet should go and see it. There's a couple more performances left, and all 4 of them did a really great job with it, so it's a really good show.
That's great. On Wednesday night, the cast of Time Stands Still had a special guest to attend the response session after the show. Photojournalist and author of Shutter Babe, Deborah Kogan, who has covered news stories from countries around the world, attended the performance and added to the show response afterward. Kogan spoke to students about her experiences as a wartime photographer in classes Wednesday and Thursday, and also presented Shutter Babe Live for students in the Jeske Fine Arts Center on Thursday.
A recent report showed that 75% of the 2010 college class in South Dakota took out school loans, which is the highest number of any state in the nation. Even with that high number, the survey data from the project on student debt showed that for the amount of debt per student, South Dakota ranked in the middle. The report found that members of the class of 2010 in South Dakota who took out loans had an average debt of $23,171, ranking the state 25th in the nation. Nationally, the average debt loan was more than $25,000, with 2/3 of the class of 2010 graduating with loans.
Coming up next, USF prepares for magical dinners.
Don't go away.
The University of Sioux Falls will put on the 48th Annual Magical Dinners December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the McDonald Center. Reception starts at 6:30 p.m. and the magical performance starts at 7 p.m. For tickets, call 605-331-6580 or email usfmagicals@usiouxfalls.edu.
As the Christmas season draws near, people are teaming together with Operation Christmas Child, sponsored by Samaritan's Purse, to bring Christmas to those less fortunate around the world. USF Professor Bob Barkley encouraged individuals and classes at USF to participate by gathering toys, candy, and personal hygiene items for the annual shoebox gift drive. The shoe boxes were collected and turned into Barkley's office this past Friday.
University of Sioux Falls reporter Irene Samaniago gives us a look into Ecuadorian life in Sioux Falls and one student's impression of college life in the Midwest.
Ecuadorian students have come to Sioux Falls in the search of a better education and a new life experience. They have traveled thousands of miles, leaving their culture and family behind, just to find themselves with a new culture and a new family here in Sioux Falls. Andres Artunduaga, an Ecuadorian graduate student at the University of Sioux Falls, shared with us about his experience in the United States and at USF as an international student.
I've been here for 6 years. I came here in 2005. It was when I got here, I was struggling with the culture because Latin people are more touchy. We are like more. I think like people here is a little bit colder. They don't like to hug each other, and we are really affectionist, you know. So it was hard for me to get used to the American culture and the society here.
The reasons Ecuadorians come to the States to study is to take advantage of the high-quality education and to ensure themselves with a positive future.
I think education in this country will help me eventually to be more competitive, you know, around the world.
At the University of Sioux Falls, Ecuadorians have found a home, a place where they feel accepted, where they are able to meet new friends from either the same or different culture, a place where they can just have a good time.
I really like how, like the community here, you know, like you feel that you are in a family, you know, everybody knows you, they know your name, you're not a number, you know, like in a big university. So when you go somewhere, hey Andres, how are you doing? That's great, you know, the faculty know you, the professors know you, the students, so I really like that.
Ecuadorians in Sioux Falls are adapting to a new culture. They are living a new life experience and meeting some new people. For College Week, this is Irene Samaniego.
January and interim classes are approaching, which for some students means the time to start packing for their various trips they will be taking. For some, they will be traveling in groups. For a closer look into one group's travel, here's College Week's Hannah Olson.
This coming interim, the USF Concert Chorale will be traveling on a European tour that will include Paris, Bruges, and Amsterdam. Dr. David Ho Cleaver, Director of Choral Activities at USF, says he selects countries that will influence the students.
I try to choose venues and destinations that will educate our students, but oftentimes these large cities that we visit offer unique and really fun atmospheres in which to perform.
Senior Jake Versteege says that he is most looking forward to the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities trips like this offer.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is to performing at Notre Dame. We get to perform a Palestrina Mass for a service at Notre Dame, and apparently that's not something that most college choirs get to do, so we're pretty lucky to be able to do that.
DeHoe Cleaver says the choir will take to heart the USF motto, Culture for Service, by helping a homeless shelter and different youth hostels.
We will be singing at, we'll be at a homeless shelter in Paris, preparing a meal and eating with them and performing with the people that take advantage of those services. We will be singing at a children's hospital in Paris, as well as several Christian youth hostels in the Netherlands. We'll be traveling January 4th through the 12th, and so it'll be a whirlwind tour and yet a life-changing experience.
Versteeg says this is a way for USF to showcase themselves internationally.
Great opportunity for USF to throw their name out there in the international realm, to let people know that, hey, this little liberal arts school in Sioux Falls, South Dakota is representing in a way that is pleasing to not only the rest of the world, but to God.
For College Week, I'm Hannah Olson.
So, Kayla, do you have any plans for interim this year?
I don't yet, but I am excited for the break beforehand. How about
Yeah,
you?
definitely. I and one of my buddies are taking a trip, just him and I. We're just taking off our senior year. We just want to go do something fun. So that's my plan anyway.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
On the 8th of November, the City of Sioux Falls came together and voted on their proposed new event center. The vote passed with 58% saying yes and 42% saying no. Bob Barclay was one of the people who was against the building of the new event center at this point in time. With more on the story, here's Hannah Gomat.
In 2014, the Sioux Falls Arena that we know will forever change. Discussions started early this year about adding a new event center. Since then, groups on both sides of the topic have emerged and made their points known. Bob Barclay, who was against building at this time, tells some of his concerns about the new event center.
I'm not opposed to an event center per se. I was opposed to the financial package. And the finances, I think, are still shaky for the future. We'll be 22 years in paying for this. Starting in 2017, it'll be $9 million a year coming out of the second penny sales tax. That's a considerable amount of money. That's $750,000 a month. And I'm worried about the roads and the infrastructure of our city with that amount of money being taken out. Event Center has some issues with parking. Where are you going to put all the people that go to the facility? I'm also concerned about whether this was more a want than a need.
The new event center will seat 12,000 people, which is more than the current arena, an arena that is more than 50 years old and showing signs of wear. The new project will total $115 million. Even though Mr. Barclay was against the building of the event center at this time, he now supports it for a very specific reason.
Well, I'm supporting the efforts ever since the election. I'm supporting the event center and anything I can do to help it function. We need effective leadership and we need prudence in how we run this particular venture.
Be sure to tune in next week as our very own Hannah Olson sits down with Mayor Mike Huther on Crosstalk for an extended interview. For USF College Week, I'm Hannah Gumat.
Coming up next, Sam Tasset sits down with Jed Stugart on Crosstalk.
Don't go away.
Good morning, welcome to Crosstalk. I'm Sam Tasset. I'm joined by head football coach Jed Stugart. How are you doing today?
Good, Sam. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
Could you recap the season a little bit for us?
Well, it was an interesting season. I think for our first year in Division II, anytime you have a transitional period that you got to go through, there's always going to be some adverse conditions, some growing pains, some positives, and I think really we ended up 5-4. We played teams from 1AA teams or FCS teams down to Division II teams and top 10 Division II teams. So we were able to kind of see really where we are in our first year. And but in that we capped the season off with losing by a last-second field goal to North Dakota, who was a 1AA team, and that would have been nice, but it was good to see how hard our kids fought. So a pretty interesting year. I think what was hard was having 9 games for our seniors, and as opposed to usually 11, or in their case 15 games. That usually took us to the national championship.
Yeah. What did you gain from this experience from playing the big schools?
Well, I think it was kind of having our kids learn just the level that they have to play at, to compete, to win championships at Division II level. And I think, we got to play a former national champion in Northwest Missouri, went down there, played those guys very well. Like I said, almost beat North Dakota. McNeese State in Louisiana, our kids learned there, I think, with the second of the big 4 that we called it. Our guys, really I guess it was the third game. Those guys really learned how to fight and compete and just really hang in there. And they almost pulled off a win there too. So, I think it's that was a great learning experience. We'll take this into our off season and kind of remind our guys, hey, remember when you played these teams, what it took to win and the gap that we have to kind of close in being successful.
Yeah, I know you guys started slow. What fueled you to finish strong?
Well, I think, we talked a lot about leaving a legacy this year for our seniors. That the history books of USF football and sports was going to look back at this class and say, what are you remembered for in this transition? Did you kind of take us forward, or did you take us back? And we talked a lot about leaving a legacy. And I think those guys really bought into that, of saying, hey, I want to be remembered for the team that our first year we fought and scratched and worked our tail off. I feel like they did that.
Yeah. Going into next year, how has this year prepared you for next year?
Well, I think a lot of it'll be in our off season. We need to get we really, from a skill position standpoint, we feel like we're going to match up very well next year. I think where the difference is on the front lines of the offense and defensive lines, and that's going to be taken care of in our off season. Our offensive and defensive linemen got to get a little stronger. We got to get a little bigger, and we got to recruit that as well. And I think that's one of those things that what we learned as coaches is to gauge how far off we are. And really, I was gauging it by the 2 games at Washburn and Northwest Missouri, because those are 2 teams that are coming out of the toughest Division II conference in the land right now, and that's what we wanted to gauge it by.
What kind of experience are you returning for next year, and how will they help you?
Well, we return a quarterback, Taylor Perkins, that will be back for his senior year, and that's the first time in a while we've had a quarterback coming back. I think Stinson or John Eastman only had 1 year for us. We didn't get him back last year, so it's nice to know you got an experienced quarterback coming back. I think in the skill positions at running back and wide receiver, we have a lot of returners. Especially, we only lose 1 offensive lineman, and that's a good thing. On the defense, we do lose some defensive linemen, but for the most part, having both starting, or really all three of the 4 starting linebackers coming back, and so in secondary, we only lose 2 kids out of our secondary, and so both safeties being back is a big deal for us. So we return a lot of experience. We just got to kind of fill in the cracks there.
And what are you looking forward to next season?
Well, I think everybody, I think everybody would be lying if we didn't say we look forward to the Augustana game. But this is our first chance to win a conference championship, and that's what we're looking forward to.
And that's going to wrap up another issue of Crosstalk. I'm Sam Tassin. Up next is Sports with Brett Geese.
Thanks, Sam.
And now Brett Geese takes a look at sports.
So Brett, what do we got coming up in sports today?
Sadly, we don't have any Tim Tebow talk today, but we are talking basketball.
Yeah.
There's a big game against Augustana on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever those 2 schools meet up, heated rivalry, great basketball games.
Just a huge start to the season.
Oh, a huge start to this season, and really got our minds into what's going to happen next year when we join their conference.
Yeah, which should be awesome.
Yes, it'll be fantastic.
Yes.
Tuesday night, the USF basketball teams took on Augustana College in the Prairie Spirit Charitable Challenge. In the women's game, the Cougars kept it close all game, being only down by 3 at halftime. But a 6-0 run led by junior Alyssa Russian gave them a 7-point lead with 4 minutes left. The Vikings shortened up the lead to 3 with 2 minutes left, but layups by senior Jamie Hofer and sophomore Laura Johnson sealed the deal for the Cougars, giving them the 65-59 win. Russian led the Cougars with 17 points, shooting 7 for 8 from the floor and 2 for 2 on 3-point field goals. It was the first time since 1988 that the Cougars have defeated Augustana in women's basketball. Today, Cougars were traveled to St. Cloud to play St. Cloud State at 2 p.m. On the men's side, the Cougars fell just short in their upset bid to the 16th-ranked Vikings, losing 64-63. Senior Skylar Block led the Cougars with 22 points and 4 rebounds, and junior Keith Cutler finished with 11 points. The upset was on the Cougars' minds late when sophomore Alex Roby hit an 8-foot jumper that made it 62-61 with 1:12 remaining. Vikings had a chance to seal the deal with a couple of free throws, but missed, giving USF a chance to win. But Block missed a contested 15-foot jumper at the buzzer to give the Vikings a 64-63 victory. Cougar men traveled today to St. Paul to take on Concordia St. Paul at 2 p.m. And that wraps up sports.
And now we go to College Week reporter Ruben Isaac, who looked into changes that were made into KCFS radio.
This summer, while students were enjoying the outdoors, changes were happening to KCFS. Zach Huntley, the assistant radio station manager, says what new changes are available to students.
Well, we've got a brand new radio board that I'm sitting in front of right now, and the old one was so bad that we used to have to hit it sometimes to get it to work. It would squeak and squeal and buzz, and finally the board approved that we can get a new board, and that was installed a couple of weeks ago, and it's just made everyone's life so much easier. We've done some painting as well. We've got some things to finish up in the studio paint-wise, but the lobby's been painted. We tried to get as close to USF purple as we could. And it's just got a new shiny coat of paint, so when people walk in, it looks a little more presentable.
With all the new advances that are already taking place, Huntley says they are already working on changes that will improve the station for next year.
Beth has this master plan in her head about kind of trying to professionalize, I guess, the station, which is a great plan. I'm in full support of it. And it basically just kind of entails having some of the DJs go to different radio stations around town that are professional radio stations and kind of see what they're doing different than what we're doing to keep things running smoothly and to keep things running professionally.
Huntley says that the radio station always welcomes new students that would like to participate in radio.
And just contact Beth Salisbury, Brett Gies, or myself. Any way that you can contact us, if you want to send us like a smoke signal or if you want to like throw a note at us in class, that works too. Any way that you want to get a hold of us is fine by us. And we'll look through our schedule of the people that already have a show, and we'll try and find you a time slot. And we'd love to have you. We love to fill any available space with live voices on the air.
KCFS is a great way to give a full college experience. And if you don't want to be on air, come up and check it out anyway. You just may change your mind. For College Week, I'm Ruben Isaac.
So Sam, what's up next week for Crosstalk?
Hannah Olsen is going to sit down with Mayor Mike Huther.
Sounds great.
And Brett, what do we got coming up in sports?
Well, today we talked a lot of basketball, and next week we're going to go more in depth with women's basketball.
Sounds good to me.
All right, and that wraps up another USF College Week. I'm Kayla Burnside.
And I'm Alex Bainey. Have a great day.
Police often question him, just because they find him interesting. His legend precedes him, the way lightning precedes thunder. He doesn't lick postage stamps, he simply stares at them until they wet themselves. He's a lover, not a fighter, but he's also a fighter, so don't get any ideas. He outran Colin Coath in the 400, backwards. General consensus was that he would have lapped him if he would have shaved his beard. He would have shaved... No, he wouldn't have. He planted the idea for the movie Inception into Christopher Nolan's mind, while he was dreaming. He hasn't walked a mile in another man's shoes, but he has ran a mile as Cooper the Cougar. If he were to give you directions, you would never get lost, and you'd arrive at least 5 minutes early. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always listen to talk radio, but when I do, I prefer the fan interference. Stay informed, my friends.